Welcome, councillors. It's 12 o'clock. We are the meeting that was adjourned is now adjourned again. We have Councillor Richardson and Councillor Clements in the building, and Councillor Browning, Boehm and Lamont rejoining the meeting. We also have online Chris Harper from the Auditor General's office, Jacob Sauer from Forsyths, and obviously Ted Harrington, who's away. He's joining us online, our CFO. I might start off the meeting. This has been a process that we've been going through, and I might invite Chris Harper, if that's all right, Chris, if you'd like to address council on where we're up to.
Thank you, Matt. Very, very happy to do. So good afternoon. Hopefully you can all hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. So good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, councillors, staff and members of the public. So by way of introduction, my name is Chris Harper. I'm a Director in Financial Audit at the Audit Office in New South Wales. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, also joined today by Jacob Sawyer from Forsyths, our audit service provider, and also Alison Brown, who's an Assistant Auditor General at the Audit Office. So yeah, thank you for the invitation to present my report on the conduct of the audit. This is for the year ending 30 June 2022 for Council. And just a little bit of background before we get to the actual report itself. So in delivering the mandate for local government, our role in the Audit Office is to provide independent assurance on the financial statements, supporting schedules which have been prepared by management and then endorsed by Council. So we report our findings to management, Council and its Audit and Risk Improvement Committee in their roles as those charged with governance, and also to the Minister for Local Government. Each year, the collected findings from our audits of local government in New South Wales are reported to Parliament. So in June of this year, the Auditor General tabled in Parliament the 2022 Local Government Report. So this encapsulates all the results of the local government sector financial statement audits for the year ended 30 June 22. With respect to Narrabri Shire Council, that report noted the audit was still in progress at the time of tabling. The statutory deadline for all New South Wales councils to lodge 30 June 22 audited financial statements with the regulator, the Office of Local Government, was the 31st of October 22. Council did not meet this deadline and applied for several extensions from the ALG. Council's audited financial statements for the year ending June 22 were lodged on the 22nd of August of this year. So several significant audit issues came to my attention during the audit of the Council's financial statements for the year ended June 22. These are outlined in the report on the conduct of the audit, which is included on page 96 of today's business papers. So Council acknowledged deficiencies in its books and records in the statement by councillors and management, which is required in accordance with the Local Government Act. If you want to see a copy of that statement, it's included on page 18 of today's business papers. Due to the both material and pervasive nature of the issues we identified, while Council prepared the financial report based on its underlying books and records, Councils and management were unable to warrant completeness and reliability of the financial statements taken as a whole, nor were they able to certify that general purpose financial statements being prepared in accordance with the Local Government Act, Australian Accounting Standards, and the Local Government Code of Accounting Practice and Financial Reporting. So just moving to a little bit more detail on the issues. So during the 21-22 financial year, Council identified that roads and bridges assets have been damaged during multiple flood events. So this was in February and March 22, March and April 21, November 21, and then again in the period September to November 22. However, Council was unable to provide sufficient evidence to support the adjustments it made to try and record the impact of each of these flood events in its financial statements. Council's underlying books and records were not sufficient to appropriately support multiple significant balances and disclosures in its 30 June 2022 financial statements. So just going into a little bit more detail about those findings. So we are unable to verify with sufficient appropriate evidence. Firstly, the carrying value of Council's capital work in progress balance, which was around 46 million. Carrying value of roads assets of 194 million, and bridge assets of 32.6 million. The validity of prior period errors recorded by Council in its 30 June 22 financial statements relating to an impairment adjustment of 2.7 million to the previously reported carrying value of roads and bridges. And 1.7 of that 2.7 was attributed by Council to flood events in 1920 and 1 million in 2020. Also, the adjustment of 874,000 to operational expenditure, which had previously been reported as capital WIP at 30 June 21. This adjustment of the same amount to operational revenue to recognise grant revenue relating to the restatement of capital WIP. The flow-on implications of this means expenses from continuing operations, including employee benefits and on-costs, materials and services, depreciation, amortisation and impairment of non-financial assets. Also the impairment loss revaluation and reversal to IPP&E, and also in respect of infrastructure, property, plant and equipment, unrecognised rural firefighting equipment and buildings located on land that's controlled by Council. This also impacted revaluation reserves and flow-on implications to the operating performance ratio, both consolidated and by fund. And as you know, these are performance measures derived from information within the financial statements. So these deficiencies in Council's books and records mean I've been unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence or perform alternative testing procedures to enable me to conclude on the appropriateness and accuracy of multiple significant balances and related disclosures in Council's 30 June 22 financials. As I mentioned earlier, these issues in our view are material and pervasive and impact the income statement, the statement of financial position, statement of changes in equity, and various notes. So what does this mean? Accordingly, I've been unable to determine whether adjustments might have been necessary in respect to these balances and disclosures in accordance with Australian auditing standards. So on 22nd of August this year, we issued a disclaimer of opinion on Council's general purpose and special purpose financial statements. Both of those audit reports are included on pages 93 and 110 of today's business papers. So a disclaimed opinion, what does it mean? In summary, it means I do not express an opinion because I've been unable to conclude whether the financial statements of Council present fairly. Auditing standards require me to issue this type of audit report in the instances where we consider the absence of audit evidence could be material and pervasive. This is not something that should be taken lightly by Council. In recent years, there's very limited instances where the New South Wales Audit Office has issued this type of audit report in relation to New South Wales councils. Previous instances include Kiama Council in 2021 and Bayside Council in 2019. We'll shortly be issuing our management letter, which will detail matters of governance interest identified during the audit. This is going to include several high-risk audit findings relating to governance and control issues, which led to us issuing the disclaimer of opinion. It's important that Council and management take these issues seriously and work to address the matters as soon as possible. So that's the end of my presentation, but myself and Alison are very happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Chris. And we might take the time to take a couple of questions from any councillors at the moment.
Question to you now. Should we be in a session of council as opposed to just a Q&A? Is this just a briefing session, or is this a...
No, this is leading up to the motion that we'll be moving on very shortly, but I just thought it'd be appropriate under the circumstances to hear from the auditor who was in the room on the 12th. So it's now we'll just have a question from each councillor if they require it, then we'll move on to the motion.
I don't actually get from what you've said as a reason why this is not in council, as a council meeting.
We're in a council meeting right now.
You haven't opened the meeting, Mayor.
It was an adjourned meeting, so we've just reopened it at 12 o'clock. So it wasn't a council meeting as normal because we adjourned it. We've now moved into what was an ongoing meeting, now in the presence of Councillor Richardson and Councillor Clements, and that you guys have rejoined the meeting as well. So the meeting had remained open.
Yeah. So for the record, Mr Mayor, the fact that a council staff member is up there and two persons from the audit office are on the screen, they are noted in the minute of the meeting going forward from here at this point in time. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further questions to the Auditor's Office?
I'm sorry.
I've got a simple one. Are you in a position to say, had the accounts been prepared, I'll say correctly, in terms of the stating of funds being received as capital and not income, and as I understand that's at the epicentre, if you like, of the problem we have. At the time, if they had been declared in what is now known as correctly as capital in nature, what would have the budgetary position of the council been at that time overall?
So yeah, I'm not able to comment on what council's budget position may have been. We don't audit council's budget. We just audit the actuals. You'll see that the audit report talks to the facts around the reasons leading to the disclaimer opinion, which is really around the, as I said earlier, the roads and bridges asset valuation, and also the work in progress balance supporting the capital nature there.
But it will materially change the position of the accounts. They're changing from capital, funds received as capital, as opposed to receiving those same funds as income.
That was not actually an issue that led to the disclaimer of opinion. So the aspects of the financial report and the facts behind it are laid out in the independent auditor's report, and that was not one of those.
That's Alison, she's the Deputy Auditor.
Thank you for the promotion, but I'm only the Assistant Auditor General.
Okay, the Assistant. Well, that's pretty good as well, Alison, don't worry about that. Any further questions from councillors?
Thank you, Chris. I just wanted to, I've got a couple of little ones, I guess. The first thing is that in the engagement closing report, the letter that you have written to the General Manager said that you consider the report to fall within the definition of excluded information in Schedule 2 of the Government Information and Public Access Act 2009. Are you able to give us significantly more detail about why you made that decision and why this information would not be public?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. Thanks for the question. So the engagement closing report, just for context, is a detailed report which takes those charged with governance of council, so the Audit and Risk Committee, the General Manager, etc., bring a detail of audit findings. They are not generally documents which are shared in the public domain for the reasons outlined in terms of the GIPA Act. But as I say, the General Manager, Council's Audit and Risk Committee would all have seen that document, and I think all councillors would have seen that as part of the process too.
Councillor Lamont.
Yeah, Chris, with due respect, the councillors only saw the engagement closing letter when I requested it be distributed to them, because it had been sent to the Mayor, the GM, the CFO and the Chair of the Audit Committee. And because I sit on the Audit Committee, I was given that letter the day before, and it horrified me. And my role as councillor's representative on the audit committee is to relay concerns back to them because I don't get a vote. Since the government changed the rules last year, I sit there without a vote. So we're totally relying on the committee to be the oversee.
Sorry,
seer.
point of order, Mr Mayor. Seriously, a point of order. Our code of meeting practice does not allow people to ask questions with opinions. So it's either got to be a straight question or no question.
I thought you were chairing the meeting, Mr
Point.
Mayor.
I can make a
You can
Point
make it through
taken.
the chair, don't make it to me.
Keep it to a question, councillor.
I am. Thank you, Mr Mayor. And so the second part of this is the issues that are outlined in that engagement closing letter and building on what Councillor Bowen had said should be a public document. Our corporate values are all about transparency and truth. And to hold that back from the community is misleading.
Again, seriously, this is our code of meeting practice is very clear. You can ask a question of a speaker, but you cannot append an opinion as part of that. Councillor Lamont has done this twice, and I just appeal to you, Chair, to do something about it.
Councillor Mont, Councillor Tiemans is exactly right. Could you just stick with a question and look for an answer?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will. Look at the question to Chris, and Chris, thank you for your time when we had a good conversation last Friday. No, it's my opinion. Thank you, Chris, for your time last Friday. And I needed to point out some things as to where I'm coming from as a councillor representing its community who have no idea what's going on here and they need to. My opinion again, councillor. I appreciate and understand with my background the roles between the audit office and that of councillors. And you made it very clear in your reports here that those roles are very distinct. Your role as an auditor...
Sorry, point of order again. We've got an opinion here again.
I'm getting to my question.
We haven't had a
Councillor.
question yet. Can we get to the point?
This is an opportunity to
I've got my
ask
notes
a
written
question, councillor. This
Okay.
is an opportunity
Right.
to ask a question of the Auditor General.
Okay,
So ask the question, please.
okay. Thank you, Mr Mayor. The transactions that you've mentioned in the engagement closing letter and also your audit report are very scathing of events that happened in the lead up to 21-22, and particularly in the lead up to the council elections, the financials for 21 and 20 to 21 mentioned some of the capital and operating items that Councillor Clements mentioned there a minute ago being treated inappropriately. Are getting that tone throughout the report. Can you guarantee that what you've identified there, the going back from 21-22 to 20-21, 19-20, 18-19, there'd be none of those transactions? Are you in a position to comment on that, please, Mr Harper?
So, as obviously today we're talking to the audit report for the year ending 30 June 2022. As Alison said earlier, I'm not exactly sure the issue you're talking around in terms of capital and operational, but that's not one of the reasons that we've listed in our report. That was really focusing on the carrying value or the valuation of council's roads and bridges assets and capital work in progress. So I'm not quite sure.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not sure of the relevance here. So we're not looking to withdraw reports on previously issued financial statements of council. We're only dealing with this year. This year is a disclaimed opinion for the reasons that are listed in the report. Now, one of those was in relation to a prior period error, but again, as it shows in the report, we were unable to substantiate the transactions that were displayed in that prior period error. So I'm not sure that I can help you with your particular inquiry about certain things that may have happened in the past. We're certainly not reopening up those opinions or those financial statements to question.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone who hasn't asked a question? Councillor
I
Tiemans.
just wanted to ask a brief question. Thank you for your time today. The question I had was whether or not you can make it public as to whether you found anything untoward or anything fraudulent in what you've seen from a couple of years ago. If you could, because there has been certainly allegations bandied around, and I would just like you to clarify one way or the other as to whether you've seen anything untoward, any deliberate behaviour in that situation.
Councillor, yes, microphone, please.
I've seen no allegations of fraudulent behaviour. I've seen allegations of malfeasance and maladministration. I've seen no allegation of fraudulent behaviour. The question should be regarding maladministration and malfeasance. They're technical points, Councillor. You might brief yourself up on the difference.
Anyway, the question stands as is. Thank you.
Alison, did you want to take that one or?
The thing with the disclaimer and where the disclaimer is based on a loss of information is that because of that loss of information, I can't tell you categorically one way or the other. We are disclaiming because we did not have information to support the financial statements. Had we had that information, we may be able to tell you more. But in any event, Chris will be sending a management letter later on to the council, which will detail the control weaknesses and governance failures, as he said, in relation to this particular audit at council. Again, that is not a public document, but anyone in council or anyone charged with governance of the council, so any of your management team or your councillors can request to have that document made available to them by the addressees of that letter. So we usually put that to the Mayor and the Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee.
Anyone else got a question? Councillor Baum, I think you've asked a question. Councillor Reading, have you got anything to say?
No, I'm all good, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think I have all the information over the various meetings we've had on this, and I am ready to move forward on it.
Okay, and that's what we'll be doing, councillors. We'll be moving on this. So,
We just need to clarify before we move into the actual reporting declaration of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests.
is there any declarations of pecuniary interest before we move into the motion? There's no items there's no pecuniary interest. There's no items to be considered in confidential meetings, so I'll move in to the recommendation 8.1. The recommendation that council present the 2021-22 audited financial statements, including auditor's report as shown as attachment 1 to this report, and number 2, council adopt the 2021-2022 annual report as shown as attachment 2 to the report, updated for the audited financial statements as presented in attachment 1 above. Can I have a mover on that one, please?
Point of
Councillor
clarification, Mr Mayor. Just on the process, through you to the General Manager, to the Manager Governance, in a text to you yesterday, when I was indicating were there any submissions and could the public speak to the auditor. Now, I understand the system's changed. It had to be through the submission process. And I asked you a question, if a submitter put a submission in, do they get a chance to talk? But that was off the door. And you told me that their submission would be tabled because it's nowhere in our records from the previous meeting to this meeting. Have I got that wrong? Or and should we have that? Shouldn't we have that before the motion is considered?
I think you read my mind, Councillor. I was just about to remind the Mayor that we have a document to table. So the Manager of Financial Services is coming up to table that document.
Thank you, councillor.
So that document that's being tabled now, for the record, is a submission that was received from a member of the community. it was received after the business papers had been published, but it will be made publicly available in the same way that the business papers are.
This will get attached to the minutes, that's all we have to do.
Okay, so councillors, this will be attached to the minutes of the meeting. That's the requirement. So I've got a mover in Councillor Redding. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Tiemans. Councillor Redding, would you like to speak to your motion?
I will briefly, Mr Mayor, because as I stated before, we have had various committee meetings and discussions around this. We've had a very frank and honest explanation from the General Manager, who has been working with the Audit Office. We have heard from the Audit Office with the cooperation of Council and the Audit Office, we have found a way forward to continue with this year. And I have no doubt that any irregularities regarding the 21-22 audit will be sorted. It's just a matter of time, from what I understand. And I am more than happy with what I've heard, what's been presented, to move forward with this. So, and that's all I need to say.
Thank you, councillor. Any other councillor? Councillor Bowen?
I wish to move an amendment to this motion, Mayor.
What amendment would you like to move to this motion?
Thank you. The basis of it is that back in September 12th we had quite an open and effective discussion about these matters, and these the sentiments of that agreement don't actually appear in this recommendation. So my amendment would be that Council characterise the key findings from the Auditor General's engagement closing report as qualified for year ended June 22 on the basis for a comprehensive community engagement and communication process, noting in particular that the current Council has discovered and is working diligently to repair deficient accounting procedures that were not of its making. That's my amendment.
Copy of it.
Sorry, councillor, can we get that again, just for the minute taker?
I thought I'd read it out first and that would be the thing. So, okay, that Council characterise the key findings from the Auditor General's engagement closing report as qualified for year ended June 2022 as the basis for a comprehensive community engagement and communication process, comma, noting in particular that the current Council has discovered and is working diligently to repair deficient accounting procedures that were not of its making. Of its making. Thank you. You're a very good typist.
So we need to move this amendment. No, you're the,
Excuse me, just in relation to the amendment, one slight point of difference. This is not a qualified audit report. This is a disclaimed audit report. There is quite a difference.
Well, I'd be prepared to accept that as suggested. Well, it's just called an auditor's report, so it's a technical issue.
okay, do we need to move this amendment?
Second it, Mr Mayor.
Seconder is Councillor Lamont. Where does the mover of the motion come into this?
Basically, it's just voted on there, so when we get the chance to talk to it, so we talk against it's the same as if it was a motion here, so. And we have to work on it.
Okay, so you've moved the amendment, Councillor. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to speak to this. This really arises from the meeting that we had on, the closed meeting that we had on September 12. We had an open discussion about this, and I think there was a really quite unanimous approach that the community really needs to be engaged in this discussion, because this is quite an unusual process. We're talking about aberrations that go through our accounting system according to the auditor's report back 10 years. Okay, so these are really material issues that the community would not have been aware of up until quite recently. And I think it's really important that we embrace the community in this process now. It's well known that there are some issues, but I really believe that we have to be very clear and frank with our community, very much along the lines, if I may say, that, you know, our corporate values relate to accountability. And if I can just read that, we see this every meeting, that accepting our responsibility for the provision of quality service and information to ensure transparency and honesty in all of our activities. Now, as an elected member, I believe that really is very close and core to the reason I was elected in the beginning, and that was what I've campaigned on, and I've worked very hard to establish that we must be frank and open with our community. And I thought that when we had that agreement, the general agreement that was unanimously supported in this chamber, that we do such a thing. This was missing from the last the meeting that we're continuing on in the original motion. There are only 2 points of the original motion. There is nothing in there that says that community must be engaged. So I'm very, very clear that we must do this. We owe it to our community. We owe it to the public to be open and frank. And when you engage the public, they'll come along with us. The minute that we start working in this process where we've got this cloak and dagger secret squirrel business, which we're seeing a little bit too much of lately, the minute that we've got that, that is when the community starts not to trust us as elected people.
Excuse me,
so I think it's vital that we pass this
Councillor. I just need to talk on behalf of the staff here. There's been no endeavour for cloak and dagger with the organisation that I run. And I seriously object to that statement being implied in the way that we have conducted both this audit, the meetings that we've had with our elected members, and the agreements that we've come to with our auditors in terms of taking this process forward. So I'd just like to ask you to have caution around the words that you're using in this case.
Thank you, General Manager, for pointing that out, and I'm quite happy to withdraw that unreservedly. I didn't actually mean that it had been it was a term of a phrase that I shouldn't have used, and I apologise for that. Anyway, I'm just closing now. I believe that we owe it to our community to be quite open and transparent with them. It is part of our values, and I would encourage other councillors to support the amendment.
Thank you, councillor. Any further comment for or against the motion for the amendment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? Motion denied. So we move back to the original motion. Moved by Councillor Redding, seconded by Councillor Tiemans. Everyone's spoken on that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes this meeting, this extraordinary meeting, and I close the meeting at 12. Yeah, and before I do that, I'm sorry. Thank you, auditors, Alice and Chris, for coming in, and thank you, Jacob, as well. And we appreciate your time and your consideration in this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I close the meeting at 12:37. Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting, 26th of September. To all councillors and those in the gallery, welcome. I note former Councillor Campy here. Welcome, former Councillor Campy. He is instrumental in dealing with the recognition of servicemen and women, which we use every day at every council meeting. I advise that council will be recording and videoing this meeting today to be webcast and available on the internet. As such, all of those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Can I ask that all councillors during the duration of the meeting limit discussion to only the business on the agenda and what is permissible under our code of meeting practice. If you could all stand, please, for the opening prayer. Lord, we pray for the blessing on this council meeting. Grant that we discuss all matters with understanding and have wisdom in our decisions, that they will be done and through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia, and in particular the Gomeroi people of the Kamilaroi Nation, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Recognition of servicemen and women. Council acknowledges the sacrifice made by Australian servicemen and women, in particular those who gave their lives in defence of the freedom we enjoy today. There is no attendance by audio-visual link today. There's no apologies or granting of leave of absence. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Nil. Item 7, items to be considered in confidential public excluded meeting. The following items will be considered. 17.1 business paper and unconfirmed minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. 17.2 application for the Community Financial Assistance Grant, CFAG Round 1, 23-24. 17.3, amendment to Master Inland Rail Development Agreement, MIRDA, Narrabri to Narromine section, additional information. 17.4, mayoral minute, general manager annual performance review period, September 22 to September 23. And supplementary item 13.1, contract 232404, SR17 Old Narrabri Road, SR61 Tarrawan Road intersection realignment and road upgrade. There are no presentations to be made at council today. Item 9, confirmation of minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Narrabri Shire Council held on the 22nd of August 23 as circularised be confirmed and signed as a correct record by the Mayor. I'll package all these up. That the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting of the Narrabri Shire Council held on the 22nd of August 23 as circularised be confirmed and signed as a correct record by the Mayor, and that the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting of the Narrabri Shire Council held on the 12th of September 23 as circularised be confirmed and signed as correct by the Mayor. Can I have a mover on that one, please? Councillor Tiemans, a seconder. Councillor Dickinson, any questions?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, on the page 34, it must have been a late meeting. It closed at 11:33 p.m, the extraordinary meeting. It needs to be fixed.
That's an AM on that. Thank you, councillor. Any further comments? Okay. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Matters of great urgency. Nil report. Questions with notice. Nil report. Mayoral minutes. And mayoral appointments. Recommendation that council note the mayoral appointments for the period 14 of August to 20 of September 23. I'll move that. Is there any questions? Councillor?
Yeah, Mr Mayor. I've noticed that in your mayoral minute, there's no correspondence in or out where you've communicated to government agencies or you've been invited to meetings of local members, and I think or visiting members of Parliament. And the most recent was with Ryan Park, the Health Minister. He was nearby. Is that something that you've omitted just by error, or?
Oh, no, I wasn't.
Or you haven't decided to record
I wasn't
that information?
invited. I wasn't invited, councillor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wasn't invited. So.
And the other query, Mr Mayor, is with your recent media releases from the 12th of September to the 13th of September, isn't that something that you would record in your mayoral diary? Because there's obviously been some involvement with people writing that sort of information, or did you do it on your own, or how did that all work?
Councillor, all media releases are a collaborative set of circumstances sometimes, or I write them myself. It can be a varied array of circumstances with regard to media releases. We have a media officer and a media department, so yeah, they can be produced in different manners.
Yeah.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah, well, my concern about that, Mr Mayor, is they didn't reflect what we said in our closed section. That's all.
Thank you, councillor. Any further questions? Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 13.1, I'll step aside now.
Okay, this is the point of the meeting where I become a returning officer.
Mr General Manager, the next two items, I'm abstaining from voting, so I'm going to leave the meeting.
Thank you, councillor. If we could record Councillor Lamont in the minutes, please. So I'll call for nominations for the Mayor.
Manager, I'm likewise, I'll be leaving the room. I shall be abstaining on the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could record Councillor Boehm in the minutes, please. Okay, at this point in time, I just want to be clear with everybody, I only have one nomination for the mayoralty position. Code of conduct, or is the legislation? Under local government general regulations, with only one nomination, I duly declare that Councillor Timmins is appointed as the mayor. I would invite you to take the chair. You're welcome to take the chair, Mr. Mayor. Item 13.2 is the creation of the office of Deputy Mayor. Would I be able to have a mover for the resolution, please? Thank you, Councillor Redding. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Would you like to speak to the resolution, Councillor?
Just a quick question, Mr General Manager. Item 2, the council set the term of the office of Deputy Mayor. So obviously we'll set the term for 12 months.
That's correct, yes. The term will automatically be 12 months because the end of the period is 12 months. Okay, so I think the way to do this is it best to vote on those two recommendations and then we can move into item 3? Yeah. So sorry, questions? Sorry.
Yeah, I'd just
Councillor
like to abstain from voting from this one as well, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Browning left the meeting.
Likewise, I'll abstain from voting. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so still with only one nomination, I think things have sorted themselves out in an unusual way. However, it's still through the democratic process. I duly declare Councillor Dickinson elected as the Deputy Mayor. So, well done. I would just call for a vote to pass the initial two recommendations, if that's okay. So, all those in favour and against. So, congratulations.
Yep.
We move on to appointment of. So, shall we inform the councillors outside that their moment has now passed? We've all voted. That's all that's been sorted.
There was no voting required.
We had to vote for items 1 and 2 of the Deputy Mayoralty to create the position. Yeah. And then there were no votes for the actual position.
All good? Okay, 13.3, annual appointment of council delegates. So the recommendation here is that council determines its delegate appointments to the respective organisations and committees for up until the ordinary council meeting to be held September 2024. So we've got obviously a number of committees there, both external bodies, and we've also got community consultative committees, and we've also got internal advisory special purpose committees. The staff have kindly listed the current delegates and the alternatives to those committees currently. So we're just going to have to work our way through that if everyone's happy with that. Could I have...
Just a correction, if we could. The Floodplain Risk Advisory Committee, the delegate is not the me.
Right. Can I have advice from you on that? Have you?
Flood Risk Advisory Commission, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll amend that in the minutes, of course. So, Central Northern Libraries Committee, current delegate is Councillor Redding and Councillor Dickinson. Do we have any? Sorry?
It might be easiest if we say for the whole list and go through them. Do we want to retain these members?
Yeah, that's a good idea. The General Manager suggested that instead of going through every single one of these committees that we basically go through, we basically just simply agree to retain the current members unless someone here wants to either drop off a committee or is interested in being part of a committee. So how does that sound for everyone?
Thank you, Mayor. I will not be standing for any position on committees.
Okay, thank you very much.
Resigning all.
Yep, okay, thank you. Ones you're on, okay.
Just another point. The Murray-Darling Basin Association of Councils, we've got a recommendation here
Yes.
or a report to join or not to join.
Yes.
Will we deal with the delegate when we deal with that matter?
We will deal, I think we'll deal with that once that motion comes up. Thank you. Good, great point, thank you. Do we have any other changes? We should go through the committees that, of course, Councillor Boehm is a delegate or an alternative for. But any other changes, Councillor Lamont?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'm councillor's representative and have been since we were elected on the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee.
Yes.
And I'm just sick and tired of people not listening to what I've been saying about the risks that have been going on there, so I'm withdrawing from that committee.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Any other changes the obvious changes to be noted? So we might just go through a number of those committees. Sorry. Yes, he's the Joint Regional Planning panel. Councillor Boehm, you're the delegate. You're one of the delegates. Do we have another councillor, elected member, who wishes to join Councillor Redding on that committee, please? It's the Joint Regional Planning Committee. It meets when required. I don't believe it's met very often.
I'm happy to do that one.
Thank you very much, Councillor Richardson. Appreciate that. Councillor Boehm, you're also the alternative for the Mile Creek Memorial Committee. Do we have another councillor that wishes to attend that meeting at that committee as an alternative? So we currently have Councillor Redding and Councillor Lamont on that committee. Anyone else wishes to do it? Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. That's great. We've got the North West Regional Weeds Committee. I'm happy to stay on that committee. I'm quite happy to stay on that if that's required. Does anyone else want to be an alternative for that? Thank you very much, Councillor Redding. Much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, let's just
hold fire while the minute taker catches it.
I'm just catching up.
The second one, which was the Mile Creek Memorial Committee,
That's right. So that was Councillor Dickinson is the alternate.
and then Northwest Regional.
Yes, Councillor Redding.
Is that where we got to?
Oh, Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, just wondering if the Mayor wants to remain as delegate to the Narrabri Bushfire Management Committee.
I'd prefer. Can we swap around? What would you like to do?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So the Narrabri Bushfire Management Committee, Councillor Dickinson has put himself forward as the delegate, and I'm happy to be the alternative if that's required, unless someone else wants to be alternative. So Floodplain Risk Management Advisory Committee. Where's that? Sorry.
I'm just trying to find 53.
Yes, thank you very much. So at the moment we've got Councillor Campbell, we've got Councillor Browning, Councillor Bohm and Councillor Dickinson. Do we have someone who is happy to join that as a delegate, please? Thank you, Councillor Richardson, much appreciated. Okay, the Narrabri Airport Advisory Committee. For that committee, for the Floodplain Risk Management Committee. Yep, thank you very much. So in terms of the Floodplain Risk Management Advisory Committee, does anyone out of those four, is anyone happy to take on the role of chair? Yep. Yeah. Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Much appreciated. Thank you. The next one is, we caught up? The Narrabri Airports Advisory Committee. Councillor Bohm currently chairs that. You don't want to be chair? Okay, no worries. Thank you. I'm happy to stay on that. Can we have an alternative for that committee, please? Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Councillor Campbell. Do you wish to chair that meeting? I'm happy to chair it, no worries. Also, the Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee. Councillor Bohm's on that. Do we have anyone who's happy to be on that? I'm also happy to be on that committee too, by the way. But if we've got no one else.
Robert's the alternate. Does he want to step
Robert, would you like to step into the delegate's role on that? That role? You happy to stay as alternative? Yeah. Okay. No worries. That's fine. It's wonderful. Thank you very much for that, and that's great. I really appreciate that. Sale Yard Advisory Committee, I'm on that with Councillor Dickinson. We've got the ARIC Committee. So the ARIC Committee, Councillor Mott has advised that he's stepping off that. Do we have anyone else who wishes to be on that audit committee? It's quarterly meetings. Councillor Redding, thank you very much. Anyone else? There's no other, no worries. We've got the Local Traffic Committee, Sporting Wall of Fame Assessment Panel, and the RFS Service Level Agreement Liaison Committee. Councillor Dickinson, can we swap for that as well? Swap around? Sorry. Okay, so we're both delegates, are we? Right. Okay. Yep. We both remain delegates, and no worries.
Okay, so that will move the resolution now. So we need to move the second.
Okay, we move the resolution for those positions.
Just one more, Mr. Chair. Through you to the General Manager to the Director of Planning, the Inland Rail Narromine to Narrabri that Mike Silver chaired, that's that committee and that's finished, so I understand. Is that true or not?
Yeah, through the General Manager, we haven't received any formal notification to that effect. So I think to be on the safe side, it would be better to have a councillor nominate, just so that we've got it up our sleeve if the group does reconvene.
Thank you very much. Can I have a mover and a seconder for this motion that the positions as described, as listed, thank you very much, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Redding, as seconded. All those in favour? Those against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, page 55. We're just setting out the ordinary council meeting schedule until September 2024. The council sets the meeting for the ordinary council meetings as follows, and there's a whole list of, it's effectively the last Tuesday of the month. There's a few little exceptions there, of course, but as listed. Do I have a mover on that motion, please? Mover, Councillor Redding, seconded Councillor Clements. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Redding, would you like to speak to that motion, or any other comments or concerns? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against?
Can I just ask a question, if that's okay?
Absolutely.
Sorry, councillors. I just want to ask a brief question now that we've set the schedule for the council meetings. We've had discussion in the past about briefings being 2 weeks separated from council meetings. Is it still the desire of the councillors to have that 2 week separation? So 2 weeks before the council meeting will be the councillor briefing. It just means that we're going to have to reschedule a few councillor briefing sessions, but I thought it best to check now whilst we're all in the room, if that's okay. Yeah.
Chair, does that need a motion?
I don't think so. No, it's up to the general manager to set that as a. Thank you very much. So, good question. So we've moved and past that. So, okay, I'd like to move on to the delegate report for Maules Creek. We've got Councillor Dickinson, obviously, at that committee meeting. The recommendation is that council notes the delegate report on the draft minutes of the Maules Creek Coal Community Consultative Committee meeting held on the 30th of August 2023. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Dickinson, of course. Seconder on that one? Councillor Campbell, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Dickinson?
Self-explanatory, I think.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, concerns, etc.? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against? The meeting, it's carried. Thank you. Page 64, everyone. This is the delegate report, the draft minutes of the Tarrawonga Coal Community Consultative Committee meeting on the 30th of August 2023. Apparently I was the author. I wasn't actually at the meeting. Yes, it's come through. It's actually come through from the committee. So, but if you'd like to still move that, that would be
I'll move that.
excellent. Thank you, Councillor Clements. Seconded, Councillor Browning. Appreciate that. Any? Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor?
No.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Put to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Page 70, everyone. That this one is on the. This is for the Narrabri Mine CCC meeting held on the 13th of September 2023. That the council note the delegate report of the Narrabri Mine CCC held on 13th of September 2023. Councillor Redding was there. There is a little error on that. Should say Councillor Redding, Councillor promoted. Yeah, we'll repair that typo. Sorry about that. But can I have a mover on that, please? Thank you, Councillor Redding. Seconder, please. Seconder. Thank you very much, Councillor Mont. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Redding? No worries. Thank you very much.
I have a question to the delegate. Is there much discussion on Whitehaven's housing program? Has that been discussed at these committees?
That is constantly brought up with Whitehaven, wanting an update on if they're progressing their talks with Narrabri Shire, you know, what they're doing in Gunnedah Shire, we want replicated virtually in Narrabri Shire. So every meeting, I can guarantee you, there is something brought up on those.
I would just flag that I would like a report on where our discussions are with Whitehaven on housing. It's such an important thing for the Shire, and it's we've had our struggles getting land ready for them. So I would like to see a full report at the next meeting to make sure that we are making the most of that opportunity. Thank you.
That's noted. Thank you.
Just, excuse me, Mr Mayor, you called me as being the seconder of that. I refrain and stay away from anything to do with mining.
Okay.
So it wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
I probably had an auction scratch my ear or something, but I didn't second
We've
it.
all done that. So can I have someone else seconding that, please? Thank you very much, Councillor Browning. Appreciate that. Any other discussion about that delegates report? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. The next item is on page 76, and I'd just call upon the Director of Planning and Sustainability, Ms Osling, to comment.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through the General Manager. As councillors are aware, this is quite a significant issue for our community, particularly in the wake of significant interest in the resources sector, agriculture, and other major construction projects. Staff have endeavoured to capture community sentiment and feedback from councillors in a draft organisational submission, which is presented for council's further consideration. From a practitioner's perspective, I was a little bit disappointed in terms of what was presented by the government. It does appear very rushed and heavily geared towards the renewable energy zone housing challenges that are being experienced in other areas like Mudgee. I think it needs to be tightened up quite considerably. The submission also endeavours to capture council's previous resolutions regarding appropriate siting and provision of infrastructure to temporary housing accommodation solutions. Happy to receive any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any comments?
I'd like to move the motion.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Councillor.
I would also like to add a second line to the motion.
Is he moving an amendment?
I'm moving
We do need a seconder first. We do need a seconder. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Bowen, thank you very much.
Yeah,
We're done. It's probably not an amendment, Chair. I'm moving. So what I would like to add, and we'll get a seconder and then we can discuss about it, is that the council hold a workshop on this new policy at the briefing, and that we take note of the director's concerns and discuss those and possibly form a response to government. This is heavily geared towards the res, and there's a reason for that. They need this in the res zones. We have a different requirement in this Shire, and we should make sure that the requirements of this Shire are met in the policy. I think the good thing about this is it is introducing a semblance of flexibility, which we do need. But I think it would be good for councils to be fully briefed. I've had a read. It's an interesting document. It's a good document, but probably not entirely fit for purpose for us. And we should, in my view, convey that opinion and concern to the planning minister. But let's debate this, not debate it. Let's discuss it and form our own views. So I would ask that councillors also will accept the second part of this motion. So that's the motion I've put forward. I'm not sure if I have a seconder for that as it stands.
Councillor Bowen, thank you. Can I, sorry, Councillor Clements, you will need to actually, so do we have a, we might just read the amendment to that motion. So it says here that council hold a workshop on this, the next councillor briefing, with a view to potentially making a submission to the New South Wales government on this issue. Are you happy with the the wording of that?
Through the chair, could I just perhaps comment that the submissions are due back by the 27th of September, and I don't believe we'll be able to organise a councillor briefing session to workshop the item. However, what we could do is incorporate it into an upcoming councillor briefing session to workshop, and then that additional information will inform any further work that we do as a backup or an additional information from that submission, if that suits.
Just given its discussion on the amendment, if you don't mind, Councillor Richardson, if I could. Look, I'm agreeable to that. I'm not worried about a deadline on submissions, formal submissions. We can talk to the Minister anytime we need, and we probably should. But let's decide that after we're fully briefed and we have a chance to discuss.
Through the chair, I think that's a good idea, because making a submission is just that we put a stake in the ground and then we can provide further information as required.
Councillor Richardson. Councillor Bowen.
I was just concerned that they were contradicting each other, but with that amendment, Councillor Clements, it's clear that we're endorsing the current submission, and then at a briefing we can add additional submissions if we need. Thank you.
Yeah, and they're separate parts. Do I have any other comments for or against? Councillor Bowen.
I was very pleased to second this motion, and I mistakenly sent a note to the director saying, are we looking at this? And this is one thing that I went back and just to check. So my apologies to the director that I had missed this on my first reading. This is a really, really critical part, and Councillor Redding's already been talking about, and we hear a lot about this notion of accommodation. This is one chance we can do to get it right. Some years ago, I don't believe we did it right. This is a real chance to right what we could have done significantly better. And I am aware that there are people in the sector that are very interested in working closely with local government, individually or as part of the policy, to make sure that these facilities become legacy facilities. They actually become part of our long-term process for housing. And therefore, if we do it right at the beginning, then they actually become effective housing rather than ad hoc projects that really don't lend themselves to long-term needs for our community. So, you know, when we do this workshopping, I would even suggest that council reach out to some of the actual players who do the work, who actually own these facilities, who actually get involved. The people who've got the checkbooks, I think, are the ones that we need to be talking with as well, to actually formulate what's going to be really important for us as a council going forward. And I'm very happy to second the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowen. Do we have any other comments for or against? Would you like to, any closing arguments, Councillor Clements? No worries. I'll put it to the meeting. Those for? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, page 137. And this is about the resolutions that we've got from August to September 2023. The Council receives and notes the outstanding resolutions registers as at 18 September 2023, and the Council receives a note the completed resolutions register as at 18th of September 2023. Do I have a motion? Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Bowen. Thank you very much. Would you like to talk to your motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mayor Tiemans. If Councillor Bowen is happy, I would like to move an amendment to this motion. I would like this to be in our briefing and go through these one by one, because I'm pretty sure every single meeting we bring this up. Some are obsolete, some we're not sure what's happening or actually why they're being postponed. I believe next week may be too soon. So again, Councillor Bowen, if you are happy to have a third point in there, that we go through these items individually at our November briefing. And that will give staff as well time, and we can prepare questions to email the directors before the November briefing.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. Do we have any other comments or Councillor Bold?
Happy to second this motion. And it's notable here that the author has said that some of the resolutions and action items are historical, and where no action is possible, a report will be brought to the council seeking resolution. So I guess to a large extent it covers what you're talking about, Councillor Richardson, but you've formalised it, and there does appear to be a solid move in that direction, and that should be applauded. Thank you.
So you're happy to with Councillor Richardson's change? Thank you. Excellent.
Sorry, maybe not at the next meeting because that's next week. So just the November in the wording, sorry.
At the November council briefing, thank you. So just for everyone's note, we've got a third dot point there, which is that council workshop the outstanding resolutions at the November 2023 councillor briefing. So that's just an addition. Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, I'd like to thank and endorse Councillor Richardson. I've got quite a number of question marks that are on the outstanding action list. I'd like to know where some of them are up to too. So I think that's a great idea that you've recommended we do this, Councillor Richardson.
Thank you for your comment, Councillor Dickinson. Any other comments, concerns, etc.? So the motion stands as appears. Those in favour, those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. So page 155. This is the infrastructure delivery status report, August 2023, that Council receive and note the infrastructure delivery status report for August 2023. We might actually get through the GM, is it acting director speaking to this? Is there anything that needs to be noted at all?
It's all pretty straightforward stuff, yeah. So I don't believe there is anything unless there's any specific questions for the elected members.
No worries. Do I have a mover on that motion, please? Councillor Richardson, Councillor Dickinson, thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Dickinson. Any for or against?
I'd just like to make a comment, Mr Mayor, if I could. If the director was here, I'd thank her very much for the meeting they had at Melbourne Road. The community were very pleased, and the General Manager attended, which I think is a good thing for consultation and working with the community. So hopefully we can find some money to provide the solution for them. But I think you remarked at the time, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, that this is the proper way to do consultation, and that's the way I was read. Go to the people, find out what's going on, listen to their concerns, and then see if you can deal with them within your constraints of the budget. So thank you, through to the Director, please.
Thank you very much for your comments, Councillor Lamont. Any other mover of the motion? It's Councillor Richardson. Do you wish to make any comments at all? No, no worries. Anyway, any other comments, Councillor?
Yeah, I've got a question on the design for the water main replacement. So the design's completed for Boggabri and for Weewar. My question is regarding fire control in Weewar and the main system. Have we, in that design, included a better capacity for fire control?
Yeah, through the chair, we'll have to take that one on notice and then get back to you. I'm afraid without the director here, I wouldn't have that level of detail.
If we could, and the concern is that perhaps 3 years ago there was a new building, a grant built at the showground, which you know, struggled to get an occupation certificate because of fire control issues. The Imperial Hotel currently has the top floors shut because of fire control issues. I would like to know whether we have had an opportunity here and possibly moved past it to actually get a better fire control into the main system of Weewar. It's currently an impediment to investment in the town, in that the reality is if you want to have a building of any significance, you'll have to install fire control at your own expense. And for the Imperial, I think that's somewhere in the tune of $1 million, I which just means that accommodation which is available is not going to be open until we deal with it. So we are upgrading mains and we're redesigning mains. Let's have a look at fire control, please.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Clements. Any other comments? I'll put it to the meeting. Those for? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Item 1311, that's investment report, August 2023. That's on page 159. This is at the council notes, the investment report for August 2023. Do I have a mover on that? A mover. Councillor Redding, Councillor Dickinson, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to this motion?
I think that it's all in the report there, Mr Mayor. Pleasing to note that we've taken 4 million off, but we've managed to put 5 million back on, so that is great.
Thank you very much. Any other comments about this investment report? Thank you. I'll just put it to the floor. Those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. 171. No, sorry, we're ahead of ourselves. It's item 1312, which is a monthly financial report, August 2023. It's good to see that here. Thank you. And that's on page 168. The council notes the monthly financial report for August 2023. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Councillor Campbell. So used to calling you Mayor. Do I have any, would you like to, the mover of this, would you like to make a comment at all? Any comments for and against? Just move that, those for.
I'll just pass one comment through the chair. The revenue line shows us slightly in front. I can reassure the elected team that that is just a timing issue. So we will be on track by the end of the financial year, but we're slightly in front on revenue just at this point in time. So let's not get excited with the Christmas party.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that update. That was absolutely carried. So just move to the next item, which is 1313, Planning and Development Report, August 2023. This is that Council receives a Planning Development Report for August 2023. Do I have a mover on that? A mover, Councillor Richardson, thank you. Councillor Campbell, thank you, seconded. Would you like to, any questions from the floor, any comments? Would you like to?
Just with our, I think the average was 32 days in the last month. I think that's an improvement. So I commend the team on that, and hopefully we can get it even lower than that in the future.
Any comments on that? Any further comments? Councillor Clements.
The Chair, I'll be guided by you. It doesn't fit anywhere within our documentation, but it is a matter, I think, of concern to the council. The high school development, the channel that's been deepened and widened down past a number of residential properties. Do we have any idea whether they've actually contacted the residents who now have a channel undermining their back fence? I mean, I've talked to residents. They've apparently heard nothing. So, when is this engagement going to happen?
Ms. Osling.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through the General Manager. Yes, unfortunately, Councillor, the issue of problems with communication with schools infrastructure and their appointed contractors seems to be an ongoing issue, and something that the Director of Infrastructure Delivery and I raise every time that we meet with the organisation. I do think it would be probably worthwhile in our next briefing session to have a bit of an update on the challenges that we're experiencing at the moment with the channel in particular. So I'll chat to the director when she returns next week with the view of circulating some information on that regard. In that regard.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Bohm.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in relation to that, could I get through you, Mayor, to the director, what type of consultation seems to be missing here? I'm just wondering if you could add a little bit more to that. Do we have, as a council staff, a regular presence on site dealing with all of these sorts of issues, whether they're community-based or whether they're construction, whether they're contractual? Is there a liaison in that space as a general nature, and is there a reporting mechanism? If so, is there a reporting mechanism back to yourselves or back through to your department?
Thanks. Through the General Manager again. Yes, there is a range of council staff and personnel regularly interacting with school infrastructure and their representatives. We've also sought the assistance of the Planning Delivery Unit in terms of enhancing some of the communication challenges that we've had historically. I probably refrain from being critical in this public forum, but it certainly needs to be improved and underpinned by a better community engagement framework. But again, something that we can have a discussion about in an upcoming briefing session.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. Any other questions, concerns, comments? That being the case, I'd like to put this to the meeting. Those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. So this is on page 187. It's item 1314, membership invitation from the Murray-Darling. Sorry, did I? We're all okay? Yeah. Okay, just moving on. Are you okay? Sorry. Yes, what is it? Sorry.
Just noting there on page 186, there's a list of actions which the committee has brought. There seems to be one of the actions missing, to the best of my recollection. Maybe Councillor Dickinson or Browning might be able to help, but there was an action there related to a report that would be provided back to the floodplain committee on the status of all of the actual ground levels of all of the allotments in that section. And sorry. And yeah, it just to say, well, what's the original status and what is now the current situation with all of the blocks within that precinct? And that was agreed to, was it, Councillor Dickinson? And Councillor Browning seems to nod.
So we'll take this as a comment, will we?
Well, I think it needs to be it can be brought up at the next meeting under the new chair, but if that's
through the chair, these are all actions that are the responsibility of that committee to work through. So yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving along. 1314, membership invitation from the Murray-Darling Association, that council determines if Narrabri Shire Council joins the Murray-Darling Association for the 2023-24 financial year. Yes, and I'll call on the General Manager just to speak to this recommendation.
So through the chair, I'll just put some context around this. The reason the report is here is that as General Manager, myself and as Deputy Mayor, Councillor Timmins, we were approached by Jamie Chaffey, who's the present chair of Zone 11 Murray-Darling Basin River Murray-Darling River Basin Association, for a membership drive. So out of the number of councils in the northwest are not members of the Murray-Darling Association, and they were requesting that we reconsider membership of this organisation as a lobby group around around many things in the Murray-Darling Basin, but primarily the message I took was around the issues of water allocations that are in topical at present. So we've provided as much information as we can from the Murray-Darling Association within the report, so the report can be taken as read, but I just wanted to inform you that that is the reason this paper is at this particular meeting, is it's further to that membership drive that the Chair and Chief Executive were making by visiting all local government associations in New South Wales.
Also note that Narrabri Shire Council, a regional Shire Council, has recently joined about a month ago, I believe. Obviously, Gunnedah is also a member. So, do I have a mover on this motion? I think we need to change the motion. It will need to be that Council rejoins the Murray-Darling Association for the 2023-24 financial year. If that would make sense, wouldn't it? That we join. But if could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please?
I've just got a question before we progress. If I could.
Certainly.
Have we contacted the irrigation peak crews about this in our area? I've been a member of the Murray-Darling Association of Local Government, and I've actually sat on their strategic committee for a number of years. It is a very southern-centric organisation, and you know, its centre of gravity is the southern basin. It's not always a good mix for the northern basin.
Sorry, we're just going to refrain from comment. If you could just keep it to a question, please, Councillor Clements.
Have we asked? And I'll give you the background of the comment. It is a southern-centric entity.
I understand that. Yes.
Have we talked to our irrigation peak groups about this decision?
Through the chair, I've met with Mick Coffey, who is the chair or CEO of Namoy Water, executive officer of Namoy Water. He was very keen on council to be involved in the current consultation exercise, which is a slightly different issue to the membership of the Murray-Darling Basin. He had no view in terms of our membership of this organisation, but he was very keen for us to participate in the current community consultation exercise because he Sorry, we're just going to refrain from comments in this meeting. If you'd like to ask a question, that's. Oh, but you still got normal meeting rules, though.
Well, if I could just correct you, Chair, near the whole, you don't have the meeting rules that are applying right now. You may understand that. This is a serious decision, and there's been a lot of discussion about this over the years in the Northern Basin about effectively setting up our own view, our own organisation of local government. And I think we need to think about this. It is an incredibly southern-centric entity. Its lobbying of government is very different to the view that we would take forward.
Thank you very much. Do I have sorry, I've got Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to clarify. It's my belief that we have to move it to start the discussion. I am happy to move it for the point of discussion.
You're 100% right. Thank you. So would you're wanting to move it?
Yeah, I'm happy to move it for the point of a discussion.
Yep.
And I do have questions.
Councillor
just to clarify, a council needs to move one way or the other. So there needs to be either a motion to join or rejoin, or a motion to not rejoin. So someone's going to have to nail the colour to the mast.
We can go to the original wording then, council determine, and then that way we can open it for discussion. I think it's hard to decide an outcome before we have discussed it, and as part of Code of Meeting Practice is we come into this chamber with an open mind and be presented with information from council and other councillors. I do have questions in regards to this before I can or cannot make a decision.
If a councillor moved the original motion, and then that could potentially be amended once councillors have discussed it in committee of the whole or whatever you all determine.
We're outside Code of Meeting Practice discussing it if we don't have a mover for the item agenda.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes in committee of the whole is the duration of speakers and the number of times you can speak. That's the only change. Everything else stands. So it's kind of...
I'm happy to move the recommendation as stated previously, please.
If the Mayor pleases, I think we are seeking a discussion on this issue. We're not ready to support one way or the other. If I take Councillor Richardson's context, she's looking for a discussion. I'm exactly of the same opinion. I believe we need to discuss this. Councillor Clements has already made some comments. There is a significant opportunity to have a discussion about that. Committee as a whole is what I would move into.
Are you happy to second Councillor Richardson's motion then?
As
Councillor?
it stands written now, sorry.
I thought I seconded.
No, we've already got Councillor Campbell's done that.
Your
so-
question was, do I want to second that? The answer is no.
No. Thank you.
That's cool.
So we've got, at the moment, we've got a motion which is, the motion that stands is that Council determine if Narrabri Shire Council rejoin the Murray-Darling Association for the 2023-24 financial year. That isn't, in my mind, it's not a motion that we actually rejoin, it's a matter that we determine if. So it leaves it open for further investigation, I guess. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. So through you, Chair, to the appropriate director, the capped membership fee was $6,681.82. I don't see where that's actually coming from our budget. Is there money? Where is it coming from? And I also wanted to clarify, is it per financial year or is it per calendar year? I would be concerned if it's calendar year because we're already at the end of September. So I think it's
through the
two
chair,
questions, thank you.
it would be financial year. Does council have a budget where it's not earmarked a specific budget for membership of this organisation, because we haven't been members of the organisation since 2017, I do understand, so we haven't specifically budgeted to be a member of the organisation.
Where would the funds come from if we were to join?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that at the moment because I'm not party to the directors' budgets, but we would generally have memberships as a budget item, as a line item in our accounts, but I wouldn't know whether we have allocated that full membership budget or not yet.
Thank you.
Do I have, Councillor Clements? Councillor Campbell, were you next?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reflecting Councillor Clements' view with, I think that maybe there's a way we can interact or bring Namoi Water into in conjunction with council possibly to participate in these meetings or be guided to a degree by Namoi Water. I think that might be a good thing to investigate if we choose to go down this pathway.
That's a good comment. Thank you very much. Councillor Clements.
Look, I don't know what, in terms of running this meeting, whether we just don't quickly move in the committee of the whole, have a quick discussion, make a decision on how we're going to go here. I have some things to talk about here. As I say, I have served on this, and I've been on a strategic control group, and I've recently been in Canberra talking about a pretty serious issue for us. We need to be careful for what we're doing here. So I would say, let's move in the committee of the whole. We'll be quick, have a discussion and make a decision on how we're going to go ahead. So I would move that we go into the committee of the whole.
We've got a technicality. We used to have a green light if the other speaker was up. What's happening? Because the former mayor had his up, you had yours, I had mine, and we don't know who's next.
It's a very good point. We'll get that. We'll have that rectified by next meeting. Thank you.
I was going to comment, Mr. Mayor, if you could. I've had experience in this world, and it's not nice because you can get offside very easily with the hard-working irrigation groups.
Correct.
And it's very sensitive. Water is the elixir of life, and there's a lot of money in water, and some people don't always do it the right way, and it has to be dealt with very, very, very carefully. So I would support Councillor Clements in saying we have a discussion in committee of the whole albeit it might be tricky for us to do that in open council, perhaps.
And of course, there was the comment from Councillor Campbell, which is about do we get Namoy Water or any other interested parties along to that discussion? That's another part of the question. So, do I have any comments about that?
Point of order. Point of order.
Yep.
We seem to be going around circles. We have a mover and a seconder
Yes, that's right.
for the actual motion.
Yep.
Are you going to put the motion?
We also had someone. So we also had someone wanting to move into the
And
committee.
I
of the whole.
move that we go into committee as a whole. Councillor Clements moved we go into committee as a whole. Everyone seems to want to go into committee as a whole. You seem to be ignoring what the mood of the room is.
I'm more than happy to put that to the meeting. So I put it that we move into committee of the whole. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. So just to reiterate, underline, committee of the whole, it's not a free-for-all. It just means that restrictions in terms of the number of times you can speak against a motion are loosened, and also the number of times you can speak. But apart from that, the normal protocol still stands. Interruptions will not be tolerated, and normal respect in council is required. So, Councillor Clements.
Look, just a few things. There has been discussion for a number of years on the Northern Basin forming its own local government group. I think we should talk to the Mayor of Narrabri about that. I'm sure the Mayor of Gunnedah is aware of that.
Yep.
So we should discuss that with them. I think it would be far more powerful than joining what is a southern-centric organisation. We have some legislation in Canberra at the moment, which the Southern Basin will have a very different view to us, and we need to be careful of these things. Quite simply, our economy to the west is driven from water. It's as simple as that. So I think that we need to just slow down here. Let's talk to the Mayor of Narrabri. I'm sure the Mayor of Gunnedah is aware. The Mayor of Narrabri has wanted this for a number of years. Let's talk to the industry. Maybe we end up joining the organisation that's currently constituted. Maybe we actually form a Northern Basin organisation.
Thank you very much. Good comment. Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Councillor Clements at all, but maybe we're better off with a seat at the table to understand where people are. I suppose, without knowing too much about only the fact that you said it was a drive to get probably more northern people in the organisation to have their say, and it's better to be on the table and see what's going on so you can deal with that. But that's not to mention why we can't potentially bring Namoy Water on board as part of a council delegation on that committee, and that needs to be investigated. Whether we delay this vote or not, I'm easy on that one. But
yeah, Councillor Richardson.
I'm happy to delay this vote and for it to come up in a future council meeting to discuss the options. I don't think there's enough information for or against a vote for myself at this stage until we explore all the options.
Okay. So Councillor Richardson, we can just leave the resolution standing and not vote on it, just kind of leave it, I believe. I'll get advice from Jason, actually.
The alternative is we withdraw the motion and we not to join at this point in time, subject to more information.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, got it.
I'd like to move that we move out of committee of the whole.
Okay.
And with a view after discussion that we'll simply ask the mover and seconder whether they'd like to withdraw.
Thank you. Councillor Bohm, you've been very patient.
I am very patient.
Yes.
I have an issue regarding, we're bringing up a number of issues, but I think the issue regarding focus, core focus of our organisation, I think we need to get back to that. What are we here for? What are we meant to do? We've got a perfectly good, as far as I know anyway, peak body that represents all of our water users within the whole, within our area. And this is a very sensitive issue. The optics here are going to be really important. So I think we need to focus on that. primarily. What would happen if we did join? Then I'm really concerned then that we would have our own community thinking that we are trying to override. They are the experts. I would really like to leave it up to Namoy Water and the other Water Users Association, because that's what they do. That's where their bread and butter is. That's where their checkbooks are invested in. But I really don't think this is our space.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowen. Any other comments? Okay, Councillor Redding to move out of the Committee of the Whole. All those in favour of moving out of the Committee of the Whole? Those against? It's carried. So we're back in formal meeting. We've got a motion before us. Councillor Richardson did indicate that she was willing to withdraw the motion. Would you like to speak to that, please?
Yeah, I would like to withdraw the motion upon getting further information, and if needed, come back to a future meeting.
Thank you very much. How does this? Do we have a vote on this? Withdrawal? It's just withdrawn. Okay, that motion is withdrawn, councillors. We just move on to the next item. This is 1315 Public Interest Disclosure Policy 2023. It's on page 219. The recommendation here is that Council adopts the Public Interest Disclosure Policy 2023 as attached to this report. The Council Interest Disclosure Policy 2022 adopted on 22nd of November 2022 in minute number 362/2022 be repealed on the basis that it has been replaced by the policy adopted at one above. Do I have a mover on that motion? Councillor Clements, Councillor Redding, thank you very much. Seconded. Councillor Clements, would you like to speak to this, to your motion?
The New South Wales Parliament amended the PED Act perhaps last year. I think this is to take that into account.
Yep.
I think it's the amendments to the Act, I think, are very useful amendments. I think they give stronger protections to people who are in the very awful position of having to make a report within their organisation, which can have such negative implications for a staff member. But it's so important that people do make these reports where required. At a future workshop, I would like again to talk about briefly how this is going to be disseminated to staff and how it's going to be reported upon. We don't need to talk about that today, but I certainly endorse the policy as presented.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clements. Do we have any other comments, concerns? No, there being no further. Councillor Clements, would you like to close out, or are you quite happy? No worries. Or just put that to the meeting. Those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. We're going to move on to 1316, which is the acceptance of tenders under delegation, August 2023. This recommendation is that the Council notes the determination of tenders under delegation for the period to August 2023. Do I have a mover on that motion, please? Councillor Campbell, Councillor Redding, seconding it. Thank you very much. Would you like to comment on that, or something? No worries. It's Neil. Would you like to comment on your motion? No worries. Thank you very much. Those we'll put that to the meeting. Those in favour. Those against. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That brings us on to section 14. The first item here is section 14.1, which is Youth Council Advisory Committee, Terms of Reference reviewed. That's on page 253, everyone. And this recommendation here is that the Council endorse the revised Terms of Reference for the Youth Council Advisory Committee as presented. Do I have a mover on that motion at all? Anyone? Councillor Campbell, thank you very much. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Richardson. Would you like to speak to your motion at all, Councillor Campbell?
Only that the Youth Council is a very important part of our community, and I'm all for anything we can do for our youth.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? For or against that motion? No. I'll put it to the motion, to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Move on to 14.2. We've got application for concessional use of the Crossing Theatre. That's by Narrabri Children's Services Incorporated. The recommendation here is that the Council approves a concessional use rate of 50% to Narrabri Children's Services. The Council notes the booking may be moved to the Riverside Room pending confirmation of another event, and also that the Council approves a concessional use rate of 50% if the booking moves to the Riverside Room. Could I have a mover of that motion, please? Mover. Councillor Bohm, thank you. Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Councillor Bohm, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you, Mayor. I think it's quite self-explanatory. Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments for or against? I put to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against? Moved. Carried unanimously. Thank you very much for that. We're moving on to item 14.3, which is application for the concessional use of the Crossing Theatre, Future EDU Incorporated. And this item is that the Council approves a concessional use rate of 50% to Future EDU Incorporated. That the Council notes the booking may move to a different date pending the participation rate. The Council approves the concessional use rate of 50% if the booking moves to another date. So I have a mover on that motion, please. Councillor Richardson, Councillor Campbell, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Richardson? No worries. Any other for or against? Any comments? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. We've got item 14.4, application for concessional use of the Crossing Theatre, Jenny Energy Limited. The recommendation here is that Council reject the concessional use application from Jenny Energy Limited. The Council note Jenny Energy does not meet the Crossing Theatre concessional use policy eligibility criteria, which is attached to attachment 1. Do I have a mover on that motion? Councillor Campbell, can I have a seconder on that? Councillor Redding, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Campbell? Can I have any other comments? Councillor Bowen.
I was just wondering, through you, Chair, to the appropriate director, what was the notion that a non-profit organisation providing community services is not eligible? Where's the lack of eligibility in this decision?
To the General Manager.
From reading the third paragraph in the section current situation, after conducting an ABN lookup and ACNC search, Jenny Energy Limited was found to be an Australian public company with no ACNC eligibility. That would appear to be the critical clause in terms of not meeting current criteria.
So they haven't supplied it. Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, sorry, just following on that, I was going to ask, has any information been provided since the release of our business papers?
We've received nothing further to my knowledge.
Councillor Clements.
Yeah, look, that was pretty much my question. I'll support the motion as it is, based on the fact that we don't have sufficient information. I'm not sure about the clear statement that they don't fit the guidelines. I just don't think we're aware. They haven't responded fully, so I'll support this as it stands. But I understood that they were not for profit, but let's explore that further. Thank you.
So can this be presented again at the next meeting?
If I can prove they meet it. Yep.
So I've just had advice from the General Manager that if this organisation can provide additional information proving that they can meet the concessional, the Crossing Theatre concessional use policy, then we do have some liberty to present it at the next council meeting. So, Councillor Bowl.
I can declare that I'm not any longer associated in any way with Jenny Energy, but I was responsible for drawing up the constitution. I can guarantee that it is a not-for-profit organisation, and hopefully they can get back with that kind of detail, but there's absolutely no way that it is anything else but a not-for-profit business.
Excellent. Maybe you could use your powers to get them to.
If the Mayor so wishes, I will pass that message on, but
Yes.
really,
Yes. Thank you very much. So I'd like to put that motion. By the way, any other comments? Put that motion to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Mr Chair, just a question on something that seems to be lacking in our meeting. We don't have a report on access to our record system through the GIPRA, which we have a standing report as to whether or not there is access has been made. It doesn't seem to be in our favour.
I'll put that to the General Manager. Thank you, Councillor Clements.
Yeah, through the chair, I thought I can't remember which council meeting it was, but there was a resolution passed that it would only be reported if there had been access, otherwise it would be deemed to be a nil access situation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I bring the Mayor to the attention that Councillor Mott has left the room?
Yes, Councillor Mott left the room at 2:19, I believe. Thank you very much. Move on to item 15.3, Regulatory Compliance Report, August 2023. The Council received and note the Regulatory Service Report for August 2023. Do I have a mover on that motion? Councillor Bowen, thank you. Any other? Councillor Richardson?
I'll second it, and just to clarify,
Thank you very much.
15.1.
15.1, yes, sorry, I keep leaving that number out. Thank you. It is 15.1. Thank you. So, Councillor Bowen, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through you to the General Manager and the appropriate Director. Would be able to get a little bit of an update on where the companion animal program is running at the moment. Where are we up to? Noted that the official opening was postponed. Could we get an update on where we're at with it?
Thank you very much, Councillor. Through the General Manager to the Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through the General Manager, I actually have just received an email which indicates all of the dog cages are completed. The cat cages are well underway and are due for completion this week. The road base is delivered, and the occupation certificate is in the process of being applied for. So we're endeavouring to have an opening, a formal opening very soon. So we'll communicate that important event to all of the councillors and senior staff.
Councillor Richardson.
Just clarify on that page 294, you've got in it the first week of October. Is that still the estimated time?
Through the General Manager, likely to be pushed back to probably the second or third week of October, but we'll keep you posted.
Just a question from me to the Director. I understand the government, obviously the New South Wales Parliament has changed a number of elements regarding animals and the way that councils deal with animals. Would you like to give the community a bit of an update on that, just briefly?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is certainly a vexed and really complex and challenging issue, particularly to rural and regional councils, where we saw an amendment to the Companion Animals Act, which really inhibited the processes around both rehoming and humane euthanasia. That in turn has created challenges for just about every companion animal facility across the state of New South Wales, with rescues now effectively log jammed with companion animals as they have nowhere to go. This has a kick-on effect to our facility where we've had to actually scale back our activities with acceptance of animals until we can free up both resources and space to accept them. The industry or the practitioners within the local government context are very concerned about the unintended consequences of the reforms, particularly from a workplace health and safety perspective, but also an animal husbandry and management perspective. There is fortunately an inquiry underway into the impact of the reforms, which is available from the Legislative Assembly website, the various submissions that have been made, and I'd encourage council and the community to review the feedback on those reforms.
Sorry.
I believe you are correct, Councillor Clements. So, as I said, encourage everyone to look those submissions up and get a feel for the issues impacting the industry.
Thank you very much, Director. Any other comments, concerns? I move that. Sorry, I put the votes to. Sorry, Councillor Bowen. Excellent. Actually, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, all those against. The motion's carried. Thank you very much. There's nothing. Sections. We move into the closed council meeting. Yes. Yes. Is everyone happy? I think that's an excellent idea. How about we adjourn, say 10 minutes? Would that be?
Before you do that, Mr Mayor,
Yes.
you've really got to ask the public whether or not they agree with those items going into closed at this point of time before you close the meeting.
Okay, no worries. So the recommendation is here that we move into the closed public excluded meeting of council, and that the press and members of the public be asked to leave the room while council considers the following items. I note that there are no members of the public or the press now in the meeting chamber. What's that? That's right, thank you. And obviously it's there's the number of items there: business paper and unconfirmed minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. The 17.2, which is applications for the Community Financial Assistance Grant, CFAG, round 1, 2023-24. We've also got 17.3, amendment to the master.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, I did read those out at the beginning of the meeting, which is the appropriate place for
doing that.
So that was notified to the public as to what was going into the confidential council meeting.
And there was no objections then. Yep.
That was done at the start of the meeting.
Yep. Thank you very much. I note that. So, okay, thank you very much, Councillor Lamont. But there being no objections or members of the public, we're happy to have can we have a 10-minute break? I move that we have a 10-minute break. Do we need to vote on? We don't need to vote on that, do we? We just suspend the meeting for 10 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. See you back. Everyone's present, Councillor, except for Councillor Clements. We'll just continue on. We do need to move a motion that we move into closed. Can I have a mover on that? Councillor Dickinson, Councillor Campbell, thank you very much. Just put it, do I have any for or against that? Any discussions around that? No? Would you like to speak to it? No? Okay, I'll just put it to the meeting. Those for? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much for that. And we've moved out of closed. Yes, it's actually written in our meeting procedures that that the general manager has to disclose certainly a summary of the findings from the close. So I'll just call upon the general manager to do that. Thank you.
Last little curveball for me. So we'll start with the supplementary first, that the council accept the tender from WTC Group Pty Limited in the GST exclusive amount of $1,419,801.79 for contract number 2023-24/04 SR17 Old Narrabri Road and Shire Road 61 Turawan Road intersection and road realignment Narrabri. That council maintain confidentiality of the documents and the considerations in respect of the contract number 2023-24/04-SR17 Old Narrabri Road and SR61 Turawan Road intersection and road realignment Narrabri being commercial and in confidence. I shall then find other resolutions that were passed. Oh. There we go. In order of consideration, that council note the business papers and unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Improvement Committee held on Monday the 21st of August 2023. That council receives the applications for Community Financial Assistance Grant, in brackets CFAG, close brackets, round 1, 2023-24, and funds a total of $16,093 towards the following applicants as detailed in the report from the Donations Community Assistance Scheme for applicants 1, applicant 2, applicant 3, applicant 4, applicant 5, and applicant 6. Still going. That's lay on the table. I'll be there shortly. Councillor Lamont. I should be able to. Do I read my own resolution out? That's the key if I can find it. No, it's. Yeah, God. If I'd known I was reading it, I'd have been prepared. Okay, so that the record of performance assessment prepared by Local Government New South Wales Management Solutions as noted in the General Manager's Performance Agreement for September 2022 to September 2023 be submitted to Council for information. 2, that it be noted in the opinion of the General Manager's Performance Review Panel, the General Manager, Rob Williams, is performing at a level that is between a meets expectations and an area of strength rating. In terms of the rating scale within the agreement. Note the findings of the panel on the General Manager's annual personal performance review for the period ending September 2023. That the Mayor be delegated the authority to approve changes to the components of the General Manager's current contract to reflect the determination of the General Manager's Performance Review Panel, noting that the changes equate to an increase to the General Manager's total remuneration package. That concludes all of the in-confidence resolutions passed.
Thank you, General Manager. Maybe delegation mightn't be a bad idea next time. We'll see what happens. We'll try and work that out. But thank you very much, councillors, for your time. Now there being no further business, I'll just declare the meeting over at 3:13. Catch you all next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.